Hey everybody, it's Chainsaw. Today I'm finishing up the Protest The Hero Discography for now until the next release from the band, which I hope is pretty soon. Anyways, today I'm reviewing the 2011 release entitled Scurrilous. Let's get into this review. So interestingly enough, I found out that the artwork for this album is actually a 60-year-old painting from Arif, the bass player's grandfather, entitled Scurrilous. And so that's pretty cool that the name of the painting, which is the artwork for this album, inspired the title of the album, Scurrilous, which is a very interesting word, a very interesting word I've never heard before, so Scurrilous, so it's new to me. So anyways, let's get off into the actual music and what we hear on this album. And I will have to say right off the bat that this is my favorite Protest The Hero album to date. It has to be up there for me because Volition, the 2013 release on Fortress, is tied for second and Keziah is third. If you remember back on my the Fortress review that I said that the transition from Keziah, the 2005 release, to the 2008 release Fortress, that 3-year gap, that transition in the band just shocked me in so many ways because the musicianship and just all the songs and every little bit of everything on Fortress just sounded like miles above and miles ahead and levels above Keziah. And here in Scurrilous, the same thing happened. 3 years after 2008 Fortress, Scurrilous 2011, I felt that same exact feeling, and I never expected to feel that feeling again with this band because I felt like they've already reached their peak with Fortress. They've already reached their high point, and you know, they could still go higher, but I just didn't expect how high they could go. How much more can they add to what's already a amazing album, Fortress? How much more can they bring to the table with all those concepts that made Fortress an amazing album? And they took everything that made Keziah and Fortress and put it into Scurrilous and added some new things too, and really brought, I think, probably their best album to date. It feels like that to me. The songs, the musicianship, the fact that the band just sounds so mature on this release. The songs are just beautiful. That's the word that comes to mind each time I listen to these tracks, is the word beautiful. Just keeps popping into my head because I just can't stop loving these songs. These songs hit me in more ways than past Protest the Hero tracks have, because past Protest the Hero tracks have hit me in a few different ways emotionally and just got to me as a listener because they have so many things going on. The melodies are just beautiful, and Rody's vocals are very impressive, and his lyrical content is very interesting to listen to because there's so many different things he writes about, and the drums are just to die for because there's so much going on. You got to keep repeating sections to hear what the drums are doing because there's so much going on back there on top of what the guitars and bass and Rody are doing. But on Scurrilous, it feels like that they've taken all those little things, like I said, that made the first two releases so compelling and so loved by fans, and people just wanted more, and they made it just so much better on Scurrilous. The opening track, I'm hoping I'm saying this right, C'est la vie or C'est la vie, sorry if I mispronounced that, but that track really showed me what this album was going to be, because that song not only has a heavy side, and not only has a technical side, and not only has some beautiful moments throughout, and not only has some just things going on from the band and Rody just to die for, it also has some emotion behind it, some life behind it that makes it even feel like more of a piece of art rather than music. And that's probably like way too much praise, but for me as a listener and for me as a lover of metal music and me as a huge fan of Protest the Hero, that's what pulled me in. This album is the album that made me decide this is one of my favorite bands of all time, and nothing will change that. This was the album. The song Tandem, Moonlight, Dunsel, those tracks just blew my mind, musically and lyrically from Rody. Because on past tracks from this band, before this album, they've had songs that have so many different things going on in it. And you gotta repeat the song a few times to catch every little thing that they're throwing in to basically add something extra to this section or add something more to the song to give it more of a epic feeling vibe. But on this album, it feels like every single track has so much stuff going on that this album takes a good 4 or 5 plus listens to fully grasp what the band's trying to get across to the listener, and basically to get across to their fans and to say, this is who we are. And I feel like this is the best representation of Protest the Hero. Don't get me wrong, Volition, Keziah, and Fortress are all amazing records. It does represent the band at the time. But I feel like Scurrilous is the high point, the very high point for this band, because I feel like they've reached a level so high at this point that it would take a lot of effort to really get them to surpass Scurrilous. Did they pass it on volition? They reached some high points there, but I feel like Scurrilous is the album that has hit the high mark for them because it's just all around just beautiful music from this band. And I just can't give it enough praise. I mean, my highlights, I'll have to go through the highlights, is C'est La Vie, the opening. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong again. Hair Trigger, Tandem, Moonlight, Tapestry, Dunsel, Termites, Tongue Splitter, and Sex Tapes. That's a very interesting title for the closer of the album. But all these songs have so many things going on in them, like I said, that it just takes more than one listen. I feel like if you're a person who only listens to an album one time and you're done and you're just going to go off and do your review, or you're just not going to listen to it again, I feel like you're missing a lot of stuff on this album, because this album just gives me so much, and each time I listen to it, I keep remembering, and it keeps coming back, and I might still catch something I really didn't catch, like, oh, there's a guitar harmony that I didn't hear years ago when I heard this. So I have to give this album so much praise because it gives me so much to love from this band, because all around the musicianship, the mature sound of this album is just to die for, I think, for lovers of metal and lovers of progressive metal and lovers of this band, people who love this band. This is the album, I think, that if you're a Protest the Hero fan, you put this on right away, because this is the album that delivers so many emotions and so many things that you have to keep coming back to really understand everything, because there's so much going on in these tracks that, you know, it doesn't take just one listen to grasp everything. I feel like that's impossible with this band and with this album. Let's go off into the sound of the band and talking about basically what they did on this album. Anyways, let's go off into Rody on vocals. This man is a monster. I've said this before, but this man has so many interesting things to say lyrically throughout this album and past albums, but on Scurrilous, it feels like his lyrical content has stepped up another level. It feels like he's really talking about more things than past releases. It feels like he took a lot more time to come up with these lyrical moments, because there's some moments I'm reading along the lyric sheet along with listening to the songs and really hearing everything he's saying. There's some moments I'm like, wow, how did he come up with that? How did he come up with that moment? How did he think of putting those words together? My mind's blown. His voice is just tremendous. It's at top point. It's at its high peak. It's just to die for fans of, just for fans of Protest the Hero, because I think this is the best performance from Rody. His singing voice is amazing. It's on point. There's no like bad notes. His actual growling vocals, his highs and lows, are amazing as well. He really knows how to use his voice in many different ways. So I gotta give props to Rody. He's an amazing vocalist. So I can't speak enough about him. So let's continue on with Luke and Tim on guitars. These guys once again have blown my mind musically, because this is one of the two things favorite about this band and about this album, and besides Rody's vocals, which is the other part. But my high points on this album are Rody's vocals and the guitars from Luke and Tim, because the guitars are just to die for. If you're a lover of listening to albums that have so many guitar technical moments and melodies and heavy crunching riffs and light riffs and just moments that just make you go, wow. How did they come up with that section? How did they do that? How did they make their guitars sound that epic? How'd they get to that point? This is an album to listen to, because the guitars throughout this whole entire album give you so much that you have to keep repeating sections to hear exactly what the guitars are doing. What are they doing here? How are they getting their guitars to sound that way? How'd they create that section? So that's what I love about these guitar players, that they take a lot of time to come up with these ideas, to really lay them on the table and figure out how are we gonna switch up the listener? How are we gonna do this? How are we gonna do that? And so I gotta give these guys props for coming up with some of the best melodies and some of the best riffs and some of the best melodic moments I've ever heard in metal. I gotta give them high praise. And on this album, it's just jam-packed with so many things there's so many things to love from the guitars, let alone the rest of the band. But there's so many things to love about these guitar players. So I think this is their high point. Again, this is their highest thing they've hit. I think it's just beautiful guitar work. The bass, Arif The bass playing is audible throughout this whole entire album, and what I love about Arif is he likes to step out of the box. He likes to step away from playing just behind the guitars and doing what the guitars are doing, which there's a lot of technical stuff, so technically, if he did follow every single thing that the guitars did throughout this whole entire album and just followed along, then he'd be getting praise as well because he's doing a lot of crazy things along the side of the guitars. But he steps out of the box. He steps out from behind the guitars and does his own things. That has his own moments he shines out through the record where he's playing and the band's following him, or he's doing something different to add something to the section. The guitars are doing this over here, so he's going to go over here and not play a regular bass line. He's going to go over here and do something else to add something else to this section to make the listener go, yes, this is awesome. I want to listen to this again, and repeat back to that section and listen to it again. So Arif did an amazing job. His bass sounds amazing. He's playing right along with the band, and the bass tone he picked just sounds like Protest the Hero and what he's been doing before, so there's no problems there, and just amazing. Amazing stuff. It's beautiful bass work. I really love listening to bass players do some different stuff, and he really does it for me. So let's finish it off with Moe on drums. This is his last drumming with the band until he left before Volition. And Moe, I will have to say, he's a very unique drummer because he does so many little things that you probably wouldn't necessarily hear unless you're really paying attention to the drums, because not saying the drums are getting flooded out by the rest of the sound of the band, it's not happening, but he does little things here or there that you have to really, listen closely to really catch, because he does some very unique things that really makes this section sound a little bit more unique, sounds a little bit different than the section before. And throughout this album, there's so many amazing drum fills, and there's some awesome drum work that he's doing, and he's really adding things to these songs. He's really doing more things than maybe normal drummers wouldn't, because you could probably play half this stuff with some simplistic beats or some simplistic fast beats, but he's not doing that. He's creating some very unique beats to go along with these sections that are happening with the rest of the band playing guitar and bass and vocals from Rody. But he's playing some very unique stuff to add something here, add something there, to make this song feel more alive, to make it feel like that all the band members are doing something different. All the band members are doing something different to add something to these songs. So props to him, and so props to the whole band. They all sound amazing. They are tight. They are beautiful. They sound amazing, and overall, I can't stop praising this album. It is a 10 out of 10. It has to be for me, because I can't stop listening to this album. I keep listening to it all the time, and I just keep going back to it because there's so many great things about this record. There's so many good things to listen to. So, Scurrilous, at this moment, is my favorite Protest the Hero album to date. Maybe they'll be able to make an album that I think is better, but for right now, Scurrilous is it. So thank you guys for watching. That is the review. I've already gave my rating, but rate the album down in the comment section if you want to. Let me know what your favorite track is, and that's it. Thank you guys for watching. If you like me and you like the video, and if you like me and you want to see more, click my name or subscribe to see more. Thank you guys for watching. See ya.